We don't have a heater, and I think we're driving in limp mode.
We lost the rear view mirror.
So we're just driving from accident to accident.
Welcome to Camel Roof Rack. Everything on here has a function and a purpose. But at the end of the day, I chose to start with what's the ultimate rack, and I worked backwards from there.
What is up, people of YouTube? Welcome back to our Gravel Adventure Van Build series here at Back of the Gravel Pack. Today is episode 5 of that series, and we're going to be talking about probably the #1 question we get about our van so far when we're out on the road, and that is, what type of roof rack did you put on there? And so that's a Camel Roof Rack. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about our adventure traveling east to get that rack installed out in eastern Pennsylvania, doing the rack install, and then we're going to actually have some time to sit down with the founder and owner, Ryan Wilson, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the rack, the company, what goes into building that rack and whatnot. So I appreciate you joining us today. If you're thinking about a rack at any point for your van build, I can't recommend Camel Roof Racks highly enough. It's really been a great experience for us. So hope you enjoy the episode. Here we go. Good morning. It's December 23rd. Trying to head east. Cold weather van trip. It's like 5 below this morning. Ready to hit the road. We've got 2 days of driving. I'm going to bring you along for the journey on this trip, see how the van does. Here we go.
How's it going so far?
Not great. We don't have a heater, and I think we're driving in limp mode. And now we're into a 18-hour trip, and it's -4 out.
And then we got this guy licking the window. We lost the rear view mirror.
I mean, we didn't lose it. We'll put that back. Let's get some glue, we go to smooth.
We'll work on that. We'll add that to our list. This is not the Mississippi.
Don't pay attention to any of those lights. Don't worry about those lights. Feeling a little chilly. We're ready to be done. And then we get to do it all again tomorrow. Okay, beginning of day 2, and we have good news. We found someone nice enough to let us park this jalopy in his garage overnight in the heat. And we have heat this morning.
We have heat!
We also have a nice sun dog. I think they're called sun dogs. See the rainbow, both sides of it. I don't know, maybe someone can tell us what causes that. Something with like the cold, the water vapors. Here's our solution to a non-functioning windshield washer fluid.
This route avoids a crash on I-70 East. You are on
Yeah, I-70's closed, so you know,
it's
Christmas Eve, trying to get through. Can you tell us what's happening right now? Just Chick-fil-A?
70 is closed, I believe, for an accident. So we're following Google Maps.
On this road. The lady came out and spotted Dirty Murphy in their van and was so smitten by him that she went back and got a pub cup and brought it out.
5-degree weather.
Yeah. Well, things have continued to, I don't even know what the word, deteriorate. Good call. So we're just driving from accident to accident at 15 miles an hour. I don't even know how many hours of this.
Like a lot.
Not loving it. We're still going though, and it's been worse than it is now. I wonder how many cars we've seen crash on the side of the road. At least 50, right? Ooh, last gas stop, hopefully. I think it's snowing. West Virginia or Ohio.
In the snow. At night.
We made it to Pennsylvania. No major
Incidents.
Roads were not great there. So we're gonna spend a couple days with family. This is our first night winter camping in the van. You can see it's already a mess. I, for one, am excited about trying her out tonight, seeing how it goes. It is Christmas Eve, so I might keep an eye out for Santa. First leg of the trip was a success. Day 1, heater didn't work. Day 2, driving conditions were horrendous at times, but we made it. The old tin van made it. Back to life on the road. After a few days with family, we are headed eastern Pennsylvania, do a little recreating. We're trying to get some fishing in today, and then the second reason for this trip was to pick up our new roof rack from Camel Roof Rack. So meet Ryan, install, and go through that. So yeah, 3 hours east, over towards Harrisburg. Try to get the old van washed up before we get the rack put on. Try and get at least a little bit of this salt off of this thing. Well, we have made it to our first ever Harvest Host, Appalachian Brewery, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Nice little spot to park the van. Appalachian Brewing, seal of approval for sure. I got some sort of tater tot deal. Good stuff.
Just taking the president ranch.
Today's a pretty exciting day. We are headed to Camel Racks in eastern Pennsylvania. Heading up over some hills, some mountains to get there. And getting a rack put on the tin van. So been pretty excited about this day for a while. Hopefully we make it. We still have a half hour to make it. Had a nice time trying to do some fishing yesterday. Didn't really have any luck, but I still had a good time. It's good to see an old friend again. Spent a couple hours outside, and we had a really nice, our first Harvest Host day. Nice little spot. It's next to a quarry. A little loud at like 5 a.m. this morning. Still, that was nice. So now on to Camel Racks.
Yeah, so welcome to Camel Roof Racks. This is our shop in Millerstown, PA, and this is your rack here, Rich. Everything on here has a function and a purpose. There's a design that came behind it, and I think some people just assume it's aesthetics, but it's all function too. The rack itself, everything started with sheet metal, and it starts out in sheet form, including the crossbars, side rails, everything. And it's all laser cut. So this comes from my computer files where I designed it. Goes to a CNC laser cutter, and then it has CNC bends. So at the end of the day, everything is so precise. It's, you know, I like to say it's kind of like surgical precision. Not that it's necessary, but that's the nature of the process, and it really just turns out to be such an accurate build. It really helps to have the accuracy when it comes to mounting up the crossbars, which work on a 10-inch incremental system with us, and also accessories. Everything just bolts right up. There's no messing around with it. It's a simple 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where my next crossbar goes. Some of what was important to me was, as a whitewater kayaker and also like past renovation contractor, I'm used to using a roof rack for function. For me, I need to put an extension ladder up there. I've needed to put kayaks up there. On the fly, I need to be able to just tie down a mattress, tie down a sheet of plywood, tie down extra boats, tie down a whitewater raft, sit up on top of a roof and enjoy the view. There's a lot of applications. I wanted to leave it versatile and loose in the design. This is where the profile started. So I did a lot of testing, and when you wrap the strap through there, it relaxes the strap with this profile, which gives you the ability to utilize this whole side rail with a positive stop so it doesn't shift. Most of the market most of the industry has gravitated towards the 80-20 crossbars as a standard. I believed there was a better way, and so I pushed past the 80-20 and developed my own proprietary crossbars, which were start in sheet metal form, CNC bent. But by doing it that way, I now have the ability to lace through the crossbars, which again gives me that positive stop point. So whether I'm tying down, an extension ladder, lumber, a paddle board, it gives me the positive stop points that are built into the rail. I wanted this to be really clean. I didn't want to have something that looked like an erector set. Had to be strong and clean. Essentially, to me, that meant that all the stainless hardware had to be concealed. So from the ground, I didn't want to be able to see any of the hardware. And so on our rack, when you put it on a $200,000 van now, you're not going to see any of the hardware from the ground. It has a factory clean look. With the T1N, it's a little different that you do have the mounting legs, which are a cool feature. So you see a little bit of the hardware with that, but otherwise the Transit, ProMaster, the newer Sprinters, you don't see any hardware at all. Just to give you an idea, like I had mentioned the precision of it, if you take a framing square here, you can see if you eye up the slots on a crossbar, how precise this actually ends up being. Another big feature that is standard on Camel Roof Racks is that we offer this full-length rear roller. It has stainless ball bearings in it. It's super smooth, so everything's just going to glide right up the back of the rack. And maybe not everyone's going to roll a kayak up the back, but there's a likely chance it'll be a paddle board. Even if it's just a storage box once in a while, then that gives somebody the opportunity to glide it up to the top of their roof safely and without damaging your van. One of the last places that was the big challenge was the wind deflector, which again, we did some testing. I drove down the road with all kinds of contraptions just to test wind noise and the aerodynamics and stuff. And I had everything from a screaming rack that was vibrating my roof off. You could feel it in your teeth at times. It was like, and so I understood what not to do. And I also understood the value of a wind deflector, or fairing that a lot of people refer to it as. And it wasn't an accessory, in my opinion. It wasn't something that should be an upgrade. It should be an integrated feature that was planned from day one. And so that's what we did. And the last thing I had to do was to get a mount point on the front that required hardware or a bracket of some kind. The solution was this tab and slot. It's a laser cut tab and slot where the two pieces interlock together, the side rail and the wind deflector. And now that allowed me to prevent any uplift. And now using 3 bolts across the top, I can now say that that's safely secured. And The tab and slot is also an example of how precise this process is. Even the identification you see on all of our rack parts, the laser cut is really quite impressive. We laser cut Adventure into our wind deflector. To me, we're not Camel Adventure, we're just Camel Roof Racks. But to me, it was a reminder of what this whole industry is honestly all about. So I know it's hard to, sometimes stay focused on things, and I wanted people to be able to look back up at this rack and say, oh yeah, that's why this all started. Not getting too caught up on my van build or anything like that, but I should be really getting out and doing stuff, and that's what it's about. It's about the adventure, going places, doing things, and I'm proud to have supplied a tool to make that easier on people, and so that they can enjoy the lifestyle better. All of our racks use factory mount points. There's no extra drilling, no inserts. You're not going to have to do any alterations, so we stick to the factory mounting recommendations. And for the T1N, you have these neat legs on the side which are necessary to go from the gutter up to the roof line. What we did is these are adjustable pads, wedges here. So this was our solution to eliminating any lateral shifting with the rack and making it essentially a unibody construction to the van. It essentially becomes one off of the structural corner of your roof line, and it's padded with a 1/4 inch neoprene pad for protection. So it's a super solid method without having to have a heavy steel upright or some brackets or gussets of some kind. I have done some kind of a little bit of work here to understand what's going on in the marketplace and what everyone else is using. So this is the standard 10 series crossbar that the majority of roof racks are going to be made out of. It's an 80/20 crossbar. It's a nice crossbar for sure. This is also the weakest crossbar as far as, when you're standing on this, yeah, it'll support you in the middle, but you get a lot more flex than the others. The next bump up is a 15 series crossbar. This is substantially stronger than the 10 series and is used by some, but less of the majority of the roof racks come with the 10 series. There are some that use the 15 series, which I like better, just because when you are up there, it gives you the strength you need, less flex. And then there's the Camel Roof Rack crossbar. So this gives you an example of sort of scale-wise, how they differ. Weight-wise, they're not substantially different. But functionality-wise, you can also see, you have all these slots you can mount the right hardware to if you have the hardware and you know where you want the hardware. And then you have ours that you can just quickly lace a strap through, put a hook through. It also gives you a bigger footprint, so when you are walking across a rack, you can get across it safer without having to balance on a real narrow crossbar. So even if you don't have decking with our system, you're still going to have more secured footing to navigate around your rooftop. And I do have a quick little demonstration I can show you. So this is the common 10 series crossbar. I am 190 pounds, and you can see it has bottomed out on the board. The crossbar is not failing, but this is a typical crossbar width. So when you have a rooftop deck and you're adding more loads to it, you're gonna have a lot of flex to it. And so then I'll go to the 15 series crossbar. And again, this is pretty crude, but it does show you. So again, I'm not jumping on it. You can see now the 15 series crossbar has very limited flex. And then to go to a Camel Roof Rack crossbar, everything will have, a minimal amount of flex, but you can see kind of what the comparison is. If you're just going to mount solar panels up top, yeah, the 10 series is a real good option for that. If you're going to put a rooftop deck up top and throw some kayaks, rafts, storage boxes, hybrid of solar and everything else, and really use the rack hard, you know, the 15 series or Camel Roof Rack crossbars are good directions to go in. So, in our decking, we do offer the 3 sizes, which is the small, and then we skip a medium and go to a large, and then we go up to the extra large. So this, again, this is all constructed out of 1/8 inch aluminum sheet. The kind of the key behind our decking is it's self-supporting. So a lot of stuff you'll see on the market might just be a flat piece of 1/8 inch sheet metal, which is laser cut and then goes down to the crossbars. So that's great if you're only spanning, you know, 10, 12, 14 inches, maybe something like that. But in this case, you can see we're spanning about 28 inches. And the way we're doing that is with our bends here. So essentially what we've created is a system that uses the crossbar for strength in one direction, and then the perpendicular strength, we've created these, you know, essentially as like a C-beam or a beam to support the track pad. So essentially it'll be 3 rows wide. If you just want a catwalk up the center, you could do that. You could put a catwalk sort of offset, you could do that. Or you can continue to place them across the rack. The profiles on our decking here, you'll see, are the exact same profiles that we have on our side rails. So that just transferred over. Once we realized it worked so well for our side rails, we wanted to include it in the decking. So again, you can just reach down through here. Maybe you have a paddleboard or something, and you can go through, you know, multiple track pads. But again, it just puts the strap at a relaxed angle. You know, you can get creative with it, but these are meant for securing loads down to them as well. For our solar panels, we really are working towards walkable solar. That's the end goal. For now, like, it's really easy to top mount a solar panel. So if you just want to surface mount, I don't have a panel on me, but just put it right down to the top, you know, you can just bolt up through there. You can do it that way. That's not as clean. So our solar mounts and our rear lighting mount brackets, they work on this clamp system. So this actually comes down and clamps to the bottom of the side of the crossbar, and this is what would hold a solar panel. And so what ends up happening is this gets mounted to your solar panel slips in, and so your solar panel ends up being slightly below flush of your crossbars, which gives it a super clean, you know, look, and still allows full functionality to walk across your crossbars. So that, you know, if this was just, you know, if you had 3 panels going across here, you could have 3 Renogy 175 watt panels. It gives you about an 1/8 inch gap on both sides, front and back. You can walk right across your crossbars. You're not going to be standing on the panel. It's, you know, all the hardware is concealed, super clean. Our awning mount brackets stand off of the side rail, and they utilize our existing holes up top for the crossbars. So what was important here is that we've designed this system to accommodate strapping and functionality on the side rail. So we didn't want to just cover it up. So by making the bracket stand off of the side rail slightly, we can now mount the awning right to that bracket. So these are just a versatile awning mount bracket, whether it's, you know, Yama, Thule, Dometic, you just mount right to, you just drill your necessary holes and mount right to that. We also have lighting mount brackets for scene lighting that are similar to this, and everything has a pad on the back side. So that way when it's mounted to the face, over time as things vibrate and move, you're not going to have the two faces rubbed together. And the point of that being is that I recognized early on that things just change. That's inevitable. So ultimately, someone is going to decide that they have a new hobby, a new function, a new outing, adventure, whatever, and they're going to want to reconfigure things. So it had to fundamentally be no grinding, no welding, no repowder coating, so that someone could alter their rack and it would still have that factory look. So we're working on lighting too. I selected black oak LED as sort of the go-to lighting source. They have a really nice quality product. They're out of Florida. Their customer service is spectacular. Super nice crew down there. You can call them up. They're happy to work with you, answer questions. They're always available. But just a super solid light. And this is our scene light that we're going to use for our sides of the rack. The spread on this is so soft and even. And so, again, like, it's real easy just to drill through anything. Because it's aluminum, it's not going to rust. You can just drill a hole anywhere in here if you want. However, I like to give no drill options. So this is where it'll mount, essentially. But I actually have brackets that are mounting to the top here at the crossbar holes, and then they come right down the face. And instead of this yoke here, it's our powder coated bracket that has a yoke on it. So essentially that's how it mounts to the light, but it just has a bracket that comes up top. We have light bars that mount under the back here on each side. Just a nice 6-inch light bar is like super slick. It uses the same system that our solar mounts use, where the light actually bolts up through the clamping bracket, and that's what secures the light under the crossbar. We do have, at this point, 360-degree lighting options around the rack. So it does become an expensive package by the time you buy your controls and such, but if you find yourself out in the woods or in Alaska or like off trail, we do have those lighting options. Super slick. I mean, it's like daytime at night when you turn them all on. You know, you might want to have some ability to fix a motorcycle at night if you're like an enduro guy or something like that. So we have options to illuminate the scene around you. This is a proof of concept ladder. Nearby, there's another company called Vertirax. They're the original company that holds the patent on the side racks for a lot of what you see today. And so this has been a kind of a collaboration between Vertirax and Camel Roof Racks. And what we did is we took his system of the vertical side racks. Together, we both kind of like this monorail concept, and that's how this evolved. So the design is going in the direction where, again, utilizing simple slots allows for a couple things. It allows us to mount Dan's Vertirax system to this. It also allows for kind of like simple strapping methods to come through here. And then each upright will then have the ability to receive these offset ladder rungs. So you can utilize 2 of these as a surfboard rack, or you can build one up as a ladder. You can build both up as a ladder. And this will mount to our roof rack up top, the Camel Roof Rack. And then at the bottom, instead of the sea sucker cups, we're going to have to go down and mount like the more traditional methods. I went to school for industrial design, so this is backed with a product design background. And so when I look at the market, I recognize, you know, there's different methods to getting to the consumer's finished product. My method was, what's the coolest, best system out there that'll work without limitations? You know, what would I put on my van? What do I think like a real outdoor adventure type of person would need? What do I think a contractor would need? But at the end of the day, I chose to start with what's the ultimate rack? And I worked backwards from there.
So with that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. or visit out to Camel Roof Racks to get our rack installed. On an upcoming episode, we're going to revisit this rack and talk about what our final layout for the roof ended up being as far as solar panels, track pads, and whatnot. So keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, if you're interested in a roof rack, I would certainly encourage you to reach out to Ryan. We've been nothing but satisfied, nothing but happy with our Camel racks, so highly recommend. And make sure while you're here, you subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with the van build episodes. With that, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.